Hi there, this is Hannah, also known as Verve, and I do basic cosplay videos, and today I'll be talking about ears. During my first cosplay for My Little Pony, I saw a lot of people using the same ears, which are the Yaya ears, which are fantastic. Mind you, they look great, but I didn't have the cash for that. So I decided to make my own experiment, and I made some okay ears for pretty cheap, and I'll let you guys know how I did it. This is the ear that I used for my Twilight Sparkle costume. As you see, it has a little nick out of it because mine was the future Twilight, so I thought maybe you'd have a cute little nick. You know, little details make a costume. So what you can see is my ear is actually fuzzy purple. It has a light lip on it, and it has a little clippy on the bottom, so I can just clip it into my hair like that. Now this one was a little taller, it looks a little awkward, so if you make your own, make it maybe half size so it's not as tall and awkward. But you know, we live and learn. So how I made this one was, wow, the color is off in the video. It's a little more like Twilight's color and less bluish. But how I made this was I went out to Dollar General. I found a light purple cheapo dog toy. Yeah. And it just had this short, fuzzy, not long pile or anything, just short, fuzzy fur. It was actually a hippo. I'm sorry, hippo. And I cut him up into pieces and saved the fur. The inside of the ear is actually a piece of craft foam. So I took a piece of craft foam, I heated it up with my hair dryer, molded it into an appropriate shape, and started sewing. You can sew into craft foam, but be very careful, because if not, you'll just rip straight through. So you have to be very gentle. But what I did was I sewed this front part on first, and then I went to the back and I sewed through. And I can't remember exactly how I did the stitch, but when I had that front part in, I pulled the back piece to wrap around, and I sewed it so it kind of folded in, and that makes that light lip in there. So the dog toy costs like $1. The foam sheets cost like 50 cents maybe, and the little clippies cost like $1 at Hobby Lobby. So got like maybe $2, $3 into a pair of cute ears. Now, like I said, this is a little taller than I wanted it to be. You could easily make them shorter. The way I stabilized my ears is I glued it. I'm trying to figure out how to orientate myself. I glued it to the top of the clip, and I actually have a little section on the back of the clip just to keep it standing up. I'm sure you could just glue it in a really intense way and it'll stand up on its own. But this was my very first experiment making ears, and I took the knowledge that I had and I learned and developed it. And my next challenge was my Queen Chrysalis. Now Queen Chrysalis, personally, if you look at her, she has the shape of a pony, but she doesn't remind me of a pony. When I look at her, she's bug-like. She has a bug-like shell, and I don't imagine she would have fur. Imagine it would be much more smooth and leathery just by the way she's built. So I went to Hobby Lobby and I bought a bag of leather scraps for like $3. Mind you, you can always print a coupon for Hobby Lobby that's 40% off any full-priced item. And you can use that coupon once. So every time you go, just print that coupon off and ta-da, a full-price item is 40% off. So I think I got the leather for like $2. I already had leftover clips from the other ears. So, using another piece of craft foam, I molded it to the appropriate shape, and I sewed the leather on. By the way, sewing leather is hard, so make sure you buy a leather needle, and there's these little blue grippy circle things that allow you to grip the needle and pull it through. It's really hard to sew. So, for what I did with my leather ones here, this is all real leather, it's so cool, is I just sewed it on in the very same method that I did with the Twilight Sparkle. However, the leather kind of puckers, so I didn't know what to do. So I actually cut a small strip of leather and glued it over the seam to make it look like it still has that lip, and to smooth out the stitch marks, because the stitch marks are pretty bumpy and I didn't like how it looked. So yeah, I cut a little piece of leather out and glued that over top the stitch marks, and I think it looks like the lip on the purple ears, which is awesome. Once again, it clips on. I always paint mine the color, and the good thing is when you clip these in, you can always pull a strand of hair over this, so it looks like it's not there. You will have to adjust them. That's the big thing. I know I always rant about button snaps, but on the sides of wigs, there's not mesh over the wefts. On the front, there's mesh and wefts. The back is just wefts. There's nothing really to clamp to for button snaps, so you'll just end up pulling your weft down, distorting the wig, and it looks bad. Trust me, get little hair clippies. The only thing I did with this on extra is that I coated it with clear spray paint to give it kind of a more shiny sheen, which I like. Some people would probably go for the more natural leather look, but I like the shiny. I thought it fit. So yeah, pretty much you can sew on craft foam. For the collar of my Twilight Gala dress, I actually sewed straight into craft foam to reinforce it and make it stand up. But you can also bend it down if it gets uncomfortable. So you can sew through craft foam. You can sew fabric straight to the craft foam and make a cheap pair of ears that just clip in. And Chrysalis is clipping like that because her ears are backwards, and obviously that clips up on top. So I hope you can learn from my experiences and my failures of making this too tall, those sorts of things. Make your own super cheap pair of ears, and trust me when I say people will appreciate it that you made your own ears, because everybody buys them. So if you think you have the skills, it's also really good practice to practice your hand stitching. I would recommend looking up the ladder stitch, which you can find tutorials and basic diagrams. It's really hard to describe, but the diagrams are really good. So go look at the ladder stitch. And happy sewing. Enjoy!